Welcome to Riders Block. It's a special Tuesday night edition setting up a Wednesday edition of the Farmers Insurance Open, which is going to start on Wednesday and run through Saturday. I'm Rex Hoggard. He's Ryan Lavner on location in Solana Beach Courtyard, my favorite courtyard in anywhere in the nation, Lav.
It looks the same as when you started on the golf beat in like 98.
That's right.
Exact same. Nothing has changed.
Still a little dated, but still a perfect location. All right, we're going to move on real quick because you wrote a really good column today for golfchannel.com talking about the idea, and this is based on some comments that Jon Rahm had to make. He got caught on a social media video complaining about the golf course setup last week at the American Express. I think his exact words were something along the line, it's a putting contest, and I believe the setup was, I'm going to paraphrase here, he called it poop. You guys can look it up and find it for yourself, but poop is what we're going to go with. But you went with a different concept that I think is pretty cool, Lab, today. You wrote a column with the idea of if the PGA Tour pros could be the ones that set up golf courses, how would they do it? What did you get from that?
Yeah, Rex, I was actually hoping that we were going to be able to run in that video, but that would have been not suitable for work on golfchannel.com. However, so that was kind of the touching off point for my column that I ran today. And so I talked to a number of different PGA Tour players. I tried to span it from Jon Rahm, the world number one, talked to Adam Long, not one of the longer hitters on the PGA Tour, talked to Kevin Streelman, who's been out on the PGA Tour for practically 2 decades at this point. Brooks Koepka, even with weighing in with some terrific comments as well about the setup. And so I wanted to see what is the ideal for a PGA Tour. And so we ran the gamut here. We did off the tee. I wanted to know what the fairway width and the rough length would look like. I wanted to talk about green firmness, green speeds, and then there was just some other factors that you had to weigh. So when you start off the tee, what does a PGA Tour player want the setup to look like? This is not the answer to 8,000-yard golf courses. That's not the direction that any of these guys want to go to. And in fact, that only furthers the advantage that a Bryson DeChambeau or a Jon Rahm or any of these longer hitters on the PGA Tour are going to have. The sweet spot is still 7,500 yards. You look at courses like Colonial or Sedgefield, they can still hold their own against the best players on the PGA Tour because it's the design. That's one of the most overlooked aspects of this is you have to have a well-designed golf course and a well-set-up golf course. So those are two-pronged issues as well. The two big takeaways, Rex, and we can get into this here, rough length and green firmness. You have to have rough that rewards players for putting in the fairway and punishes them for putting in the rough, and you have to have the greens in a firmness that scares them. If you can fly a 5-iron next to the cup, as Adam Long so eloquently put it, that's not going to do anything. That's not going to deter anyone on the PGA Tour. They're that caliber of player that that's just not going to scare them. It would scare you and me, but not guys like them. But if you have to say you need to hit this 6-iron onto this 3-yard square on the front edge of the green if you want to hold it, that's going to put some fear into these guys. That's going to make a more entertaining product. That's how you get the scores to come down. That is how you have a tournament that does not devolve into a piece of poop putting contest.
Keep going with that. I like that, the idea of the poop. My takeaway, and we talked about this on this week's Golf Central podcast, and the idea that Jon Rahm didn't know that the American Express was a putting contest is baffling to me because it seems to me that everyone knows it's a putting contest. Everyone has always known it's a putting contest. But to your point, I don't know that I disagree with anything that they said, because certainly I've been a proponent of the idea that we don't need longer golf courses. We need better design golf courses. And you pointed out a couple. I'm going to add my own list. Harbor Town would be one. Riviera would be another one that I would point out that, look, these are really well-designed golf courses that don't have to be 7,800 yards long, and they still challenge players. Now, the other side of this, and again, we addressed this in the podcast, was I don't think that PGA Tour rules officials who set up these golf courses have any interest in flying too close to the sun when it comes to golf course setup. I appreciate what these players are saying, and certainly if you're a Jon Rahm or a Brooks Koepka, I see where they're coming from. They want harder golf courses, but you're not going to get the Steve Rentools who are setting up these courses or who are going to suddenly turn into Mike Davises, who was fine bringing golf courses a little bit closer to the edge because that's what he wanted to see at a U.S. Open. That's not what they want to see at the American Express. That's not what they want to see at, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 90% of PGA Tour courses. There are plenty of tour courses that are hard and challenging. Now, do we need to find some sort of medium between those and what we had last week at the American Express? Absolutely. But I don't think the players should really think this through, because you need to be careful with what you're asking. All right, we need to move on this one. As I pointed out, this is a Tuesday night edition going into a Wednesday first round at Torrey Pines. Are players okay with a Wednesday through Saturday lineup? We did this for football. We all know why they changed the schedule, but are the players okay with that, Lav?
Of course they're fine with it, because there really isn't that much of a difference. This is not a new venue. Most of the players in the field have played in the Farmers Insurance Open before, and if they haven't, perhaps they even played in the U.S. Open last summer. Look, these guys have plenty of reps on this golf course, and quite frankly, you don't want to beat yourself up on the North and the South course. You can play 18 holes on Monday. You can play 9 holes on the more familiar South course on Tuesday if you were so inclined. It's really not that big of a deal. The turnaround time is not all that taxing for these types of players. I do think it is interesting, though, Rex, when you look, there's a handful of players. Davis Riley and Jason Day come to mind. We had an opportunity to speak with them on Monday of tournament week. These guys in 3 weeks are having to play 8 different golf courses. You have the 3 tournaments during the American Express rotation. You have 2 golf courses at the Farmers Insurance Open, and then you have the 3 courses in the rotation at Pebble Beach. For a rookie like Davis Riley, that is a lot to take in, a lot to absorb, and I'm curious to see how he's going to handle this stretch, because that is a lot of info that he and his caddy are going to have to glean very quickly, especially without those details green readings books.
Hadn't thought about that. That's amazing. Yeah, 8 courses over these really the 3-week span for a rookie. It's going to be difficult, and we've seen it. Guys coming from the Sony Open, going to the American Express for the first time, having to learn those 3 courses on the fly is going to be.
Now, Rex, with this Wednesday through Saturday schedule, and I want to throw something out there. I want to see if you were down.
I knew you were going here. I knew what you were going to do.
I want to see, Rex, Wednesday through Saturday for the first 4 PGA Tour events of the year. Avoid the behemoth that is the NFL. You can't just do one of them. Right? Because now you are going to have this turnaround, and maybe players will eventually at the end of the season say they were ill-prepared. I don't think it's going to happen, but I guess in theory they could. You could make the American Express a Wednesday through Saturday. Say it wraps up at 5 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday. That's not too inconceivable. You can get out of the way before the NFL divisional playoffs. That's going to be tricky, because then you have players coming over from Sony who want to play the American Express and not having much turnaround time. So just make these 4 tournaments Wednesday through Saturday. Avoid the behemoth that is the NFL. Attract the usual golf audience and maybe someone else who wants to watch something else before the NFL. Who knows? That's the easiest way to get around this. I don't think any players would complain about it.
Now, when you dropped that nonsense today on the podcast, I kind of rolled my eyes because I hadn't put much thought into it. But I have had a chance to ruminate, and I think I've come around to your way of thinking on this, to the point that the PGA Tour moved heaven and earth to get out of the NFL shadow by abbreviating the playoffs, making sure that we had nothing to do with football, because you don't want to go head to head, as you pointed out, the behemoth that is the NFL. Why not do it now? I'm with you. I mean, this is the most important time of year for the NFL. You look at what happened Saturday and Sunday. Look, I was at the American Express, and I know that there weren't a lot of people paying attention to that tournament, because there were a lot of people paying attention to the football that was going on, including producer Kaz. Paul, really appreciate you being there for us on Sunday night with your Kansas City Chiefs in the mix. All right, he wants us to move on. Rapid fire. Let's make these quick. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, we're going to start. Who you got? We got Brooks versus Bryson this week. Who you like?
I like Brooks. This is the type of golf course that he is tailor-made to. He is the opposite of the PGA Tour player with all those track meets. He's avoiding the 25s, 30 under par weeks. He likes these brutal tests. Give me Brooks. I
like Brooks too. I don't want us to gang up on Bryson in this particular front, but
we're not ganging up on him. This is a golf course that's going to favorite him at 7,700 yards.
It will. I'm a little concerned he's putting this new driver into play, and it could be unbelievable. We could be talking about this on Sunday night like he's discovered the next best thing. However, I think it's kind of a dangerous course to roll out a new driver. I'm just not comfortable with that. We're going to switch gears a little bit, go to the other event, DP World Tour. They're in Dubai this week. Rory McIlroy versus Collin Morikawa. Who you got?
This one's easy to me. This is Rory, 6 top 10s in 11 career appearances at this golf course. Collin Morikawa speaking on Tuesday of tournament week, saying he was a little bit lost, that he's never worked harder on Monday of tournament week than he did leading into Dubai following a T62 last week in Abu Dhabi. I think Rory, I don't think it's particularly close.
I don't think so either. I'm going to go with Rory on that one for two reasons. One, you pointed out his record in Dubai is very, very good. He's comfortable there. It's the kind of golf that he absolutely loves to play because he can just unleash that driver, which is his best weapon. And he also has some momentum. After a really, really slow start last week in Abu Dhabi, he played well on the weekend. So moving back to Torrey Pines, and the man who has turned into Mr. Torrey Pines is Jon Rahm versus, really, I mean, he's the hometown guy now, Xander Schauffele. Who you like?
Very surprising. Xander Schauffele's T2 last year at the Farmers was the first time he finished inside the top 25 in the Farmers. Obviously, he had a good week at the U.S. Open. Vastly different conditions. Xander Schauffele plays the U.S. Open well every single year. Jon Rahm, only once in his career has he finished worse than T7. I think he's got something to prove after last week's piece of poop putting contest, I believe is what he called it.
I think we need to coordinate our picks a little bit better. I'm going Jon Rahm as well. As you pointed out, this is not going to be a putting contest. This is going to be a ball striking contest, especially when you get to the weekend and you're on the South Course and a little wind kicks up off the Pacific Ocean coming up those cliffs. It can be very, very demanding. So I like that. All right, big finish here. Winning score at Torrey Pines. What you got?
Rex, since I used it for my column, the average winning score over the last 8 editions is 12 under par. This week, a little bit of fire in this golf course. Very surprising for this time of year. They've had a little bit of a dry spell. I'm going to go under. I'm going to call it 10 under par winning score with a lot of that damage coming on the North Course.
Oh, wow. I'm going to go a little bit higher than that. What if I gave you, and you're not very good at gambling, so I'm throwing you under the bus on this one. What if I gave you 12 in the hook? No, I'm giving you 12 in the hook, and there's a reason why I'm going with that number. What would you take?
I don't want a hook. I don't want a hook.
You always take the hook. Like, you don't.
What does that mean?
12 and a half. Mean? Sorry, I'm sorry.
12 and a half. I'll take under. I'll take under 12 and a half.
Oh, wow. All right, I'll take over. And the reason why, it's not going to be 25 under. So although for the last 3 weeks, everyone on social media who's gotten angry, we apologize for the low scores, for all the birdies, for all the fun. Now we're going to move into the portion where people are going to start getting punched in the face. I hope you
just wait for the Florida swing when everyone complains that it's too hard and then run up to the Masters.
That's right.
That's always a fun little about turn.
And then everyone's going to start complaining that the golf courses are too hard. So it's not going to be 25 under. But you look at the last 2 winners here. Patrick Reed finished at 14 under last year. Mark Leishman the year before at 15 under. I kind of like the 14.
It is not soft. There is fire. There is bounce.
All right. Well, you're on the side. I'll give it to you. I'm going to take the over on my 12 and a hook. You under the
hook.
Half,
got it.
The half is called a hook, just so you know.
Got that. Perfect. Can't wait to use that. Never again.
Can't wait to use that. And I was wrong. We won't be talking Sunday night recapping the Farmers Insurance Open. We'll be talking Saturday night. It's a Saturday finish. Make sure you check us out then. Thanks for joining.